Hello and blessings. My name is Rama. This is our third session, How to Hollow Back. In this session, we'll talk a little bit more about the importance of the tuck position and also how to effectively use your fingers while holding a hollow back. For any of you who've tried to do a hollow back, these are usually the two things that you'll notice. The first one is that you tend to compress and extend a little bit too much through the lumbar spine. The second is that the balance is a little finicky. Yeah, you'll notice that while you're in a handstand, any type of handstand position, the fingers, they're constantly pushing down into the floor in order to keep you in balance. When it comes to a hollow back position, that balance is even more sensitive. So if you're pushing down with the fingers, more than likely you'll just send your weight back and your feet will come down to the ground. So you need to learn how to use the fingers in a far more sensitive fashion when it comes to holding a hollow back. Actually, if you look at some of the videos that I've shared online, there are periods of 5 to 10 seconds where my fingers aren't even touching the ground, where it's pretty much just like that. And if I feel that I need them, then they push down. So the majority of the weight when you're holding a hollow back handstand is running right through the heel. Yeah, the heel of the hand. Some people talk about, it's unsafe to put the weight in that position. There's no such thing as an unsafe position when it comes to the human body, but there is unsafe preparation. So as long as you're preparing, as long as you're warming up the wrists, you'll never run into issues with these things. Talking first about the tuck position. The reason why it's so important is, again, to limit the amount of extension through the lower back. So for a visual, just so you can really understand what is happening here. So when I come into a tucked handstand position, if I hug the knees all the way into the chest, it's going to be impossible for me to extend through the lower back. So what I'm thinking about doing here is start first by opening at the shoulders. I'm pushing my shoulders beyond the heel of the hand. I find sufficient flexion at the shoulders, and then watch. As I move the knees away from my chest, naturally the bend starts to go more and more towards my lower back. So there's a clear progression. It starts first with that tuck position, opening only through the shoulders, then the upper back, then the middle back. And again, for me, I almost never go into the lower back because we can already extend through the lower spine. So when it comes to your yoga practice, really ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? If you're doing these things just to create a nice, pretty picture for Instagram, that's cool, that's fine. But for me personally, I want to learn how to move my body in every way, to find comfort in even uncomfortable positions. So for me, it's all about overcoming the natural weaknesses and not really exaggerating things that I don't need to work on. So this is what we want with the tuck position. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to most modern practitioners, we have this kind of idea of instant gratification. We just want to be able to do these things right away. I know for myself, I ran into a lot of issues with rushing my practice, trying to take 2 steps at a time, biting off larger pieces than I could actually digest. So when it comes to a hollow back, in a very kind of ironic sense, if you go slower, if you take more time to focus on the fundamentals, you'll actually progress quicker. All too often, we're trying to take too many steps. Yeah, sure, you want to create this nice, beautiful curve, but you don't need to work on the lower back right now. Yeah, work on just the most boring, tucked position. Focus on the shoulders first. Focus on the upper back second, the middle back third. Lower back, if you want to, for the Instagram photo. But this is the idea. Gradual progression with our hollow back practice. The second thing to discuss is how to actually use the fingers. For understanding the technique with the fingers, I personally love to use a wall calibration. So checking in with this basic little exercise. It is absolutely possible to develop the fingertip technique away from the wall but a little bit more effective if we use a wall, or in my case, a window, to start to understand better how we actually use the fingers to keep our balance in a hollow back. So what we want to do for this next exercise is set up with the hands roughly 1 foot away from the wall. And if you don't have so much extension through your back, meaning if you don't have quite so much of a back bend, you might want to be even closer to the wall. For most people, put the hands a little bit closer than you think you will need to for this exercise. So you can come into a handstand position, hands again about 1 foot away from the wall. However is appropriate. You're going to kick up with both legs, and then we bend the knees, pushing the hips to the wall, finding that tucked position. Here, hug the knees all the way in towards the chest, and the idea is to think about pushing down with your fingers so that you float the hips away from the wall and gently let the hips come back to the wall. The exercise, push with the fingers, float the hips away, and gently come back to the wall. So if you're setting up with your hands way out here, yeah, your hips are touching, your knees are into the chest, but it will be absolutely impossible to actually push the fingers down and float the hips away from the wall. This exercise is one of the best techniques to start to understand how you use the fingers when it comes to correcting your balance in a hollow back handstand. Once you start to feel comfortable with, again, that motion of pulling the hips away from the wall by pushing the fingers down, then you can bring it into the center of the room and start to focus a little bit more on your freestanding handstand. So with the freestanding hollow back, again, those prerequisites we've already discussed, 30-second freestanding handstand. You need to be able to hold a classical handstand before you start to get more creative with these advanced shapes. Then we need to know how to hit that tucked position. And once you can hit the tucked position, there's no secret, guys. So many people are asking for like the secret pill. Why is my hollow back handstand looking so nice and all these things? Do I have any secrets? No, I have no secrets. It's all about training these basic exercises and going slow. For me, probably my personal practice, it has developed in the way that it has because I find a way to enjoy all of these basic exercises, all of these basic activities. I thoroughly love them. Yeah, and this is the secret to growing quickly. So this is the idea. We start first finding that full handstand, the tuck position, and then bringing it to the center of the room. So when it comes to the center of the room, we go through this process. Come up to your handstand however is appropriate. Try to keep the shoulder elevation. One big issue that people have when they start to do their hollow backs is they'll relax a little bit into the shoulders. Keep elevating, keep pushing the earth away, almost like you're trying to bring the shoulders up to the ears. We come down into that tucked position, and for most people, this might be your tuck position. You see here that the knees are not all the way in towards my chest. I want to work to compress all the way, bring the knees all the way in. That will mean that I'm only able to extend through my shoulders and my upper back. So to be honest, for most practitioners, this is how we should practice hollow back. Don't even bring the knees away from the chest. You just practice with the knees in. And if you have a look at that, it's not so deep. It doesn't look so pretty. And this is the idea, is that it doesn't look so deep, it doesn't look so pretty, but that is what the body needs in order to succeed. Okay, next video we put everything together, ideal integration, what it should look like to actually train these hollow backs in a sincere and intelligent way. That's all for today. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste.